Senator Bernie Sanders this week lashed out at the deficit hawks in the U.S. Senate, who keep telling us that we can't afford things like the Build Back Better Act or a real infrastructure package because it's just going to add too darn much money to the debt and the deficit. Oh, we can't afford this, they always tell us. And Bernie Sanders took them to task because while they're still telling us that about the Build Back Better Act, they're supporting a $778 billion one-year military budget. Which, for those keeping score at home, yes, that is $7.7 trillion over 10 years. And we use the over 10 years figure because that is what they always use when they talk about how expensive everything else is. Oh, over 10 years, the original infrastructure package was going to cost us $6 trillion. Ignoring the fact that that's $600 billion per year. And it doesn't even start off at $600 billion per year. It actually graduates and gets larger as time goes on. But with the military budget, it's always just a 1 year, one line figure. Because they don't want us to know how much we're spending to give extra money to military contractors to build tanks and bombs and planes and guns to kill civilians overseas. Because let's be honest, that's what the U.S. military is doing. Just had a big issue with that not too long ago with those drone strikes that killed those 7 kids sitting in a car waiting for their dad. Is what Bernie Sanders said. Day after day, here on the floor of the Senate and back in their states, many of my colleagues talk to the American people about how deeply concerned they are about the deficit and the national debt. They tell us that we just don't have enough money to expand Medicare. We just don't have enough money to do what every other major country on earth does, and that is guarantee paid family and medical leave. At a time when the scientists are telling us that we face an existential threat in terms of climate change, we are told that we just don't have enough money to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel and create a planet that will be healthy and habitable for our kids and future generations. Just don't have enough money. Yet today, the U.S. Senate will begin consideration of an annual defense budget that costs $778 billion. $778 billion for 1 year, he says. This country would be a different place if we had more people like Bernie Sanders out there. If we had more Katie Porters, if we had more Elizabeth Warrens and more Jeff Merkleys. This country would be a much better place. But the reason Bernie Sanders makes headlines when he says things like this is because he's right, for one, but two, he's the only one saying this, in the Senate at least. He is out there fighting to actually make your life better. And yet the amount of hate that he gets from people on the left, supposedly on the left, is absolutely disgusting and disturbing. You can't look at what this man does and tell me that he doesn't genuinely care about the American public. Anyone who supports this $778 billion military budget no longer has any right whatsoever and should not be taken seriously ever if they talk about the deficit or the debt. You forfeit the right to be able to go out there and make the claims that we can't afford these things if you're going to support a $778 one-year bill, $778 billion for the military. Last I heard from this administration, we're not at war anymore. So why are we giving them the biggest budget they have ever had? We're not actively attacking anyone. We're not being attacked. There's no imminent threats outside of our borders. There are threats within our borders, and we all know that. The FBI knows it, the CIA knows it, and the Pentagon knows it. They've all outlined what the biggest threat to America is today, and it's coming from here, coming from home, in the form of right-wing domestic terrorism. That is what they tell us is the number one threat aside from climate change. And nothing in this budget is going to address either of those issues. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.